we have a very big breaking news in at this hour just now. The Khalistan supporters are again on a rampage in Canada as they stage protest outside Indian consulate in Canada's Vancouver. The protesters were raising the slogans against India and Prime Minister Narendra Modi during the protest. Continuing with their protest against the Indian government at the Indian consulates in Canada, also on earlier occasions in UK. In this latest protest, the Khalistani protesters have organized a demonstration in Vancouver. For more on this, we have our colleague Amandeep, who's reporting live on the situation and keeping us updated with the developments. Amandeep, a very good morning to you. These are the latest.
Very good morning, Nikita.
By Khalistani elements in Vancouver, Canada. We know they have been doing it time and again. Please take us through the latest protests being organized by these Khalistani demonstrators yet again in Canada.
Well, absolutely, Nikita. This protest is outside the Indian consulate in Canada's Vancouver. And again, these Khalistani protesters are raising the slogans and the flags of Khalistan along with the USA flag, along with the Canada flag. And this all happened in the presence of Canadian government when Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is giving the statements against India for plotting the murder of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. And in fact, after that, every weekend, every third day, these Khalistani protesters are gathered outside the Indian consulates in the different cities of Canada and started raising the slogans respecting the tricolor and even raising the slogans against Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi as well. And even in these visuals, there was no police deployment to secure the Indian consulate office from these protesters just because earlier incidents turned violent and these protesters tried to enter inside the Indian consulate office as well. But after taking that, even after witnessing that situation, there was no police deployment to secure the Indian consulate office from these protesters who anytime turned violent and in fact remaining mum on the situation. And this all happened, Nikita, this all happened after the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had given the statement against Indian government for plotting the murder of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. They are getting a push on the Canada soil, and that is the reason their protest has been escalated. Before this, every single city is facing the protest in Canada, in United States of America, and even in United Kingdom as well. These Khalistani protesters gathered outside the Indian High Commission offices and raising the slogans against the Indian government. But the governments of those countries remain mum on the situation. They never halted their exercise. They never take any kind of action. Though Indian investigating agency, NIA, has already taken the serious note of these protests. They have registered several cases and even they have tried to find out the Indian connections to these Khalistanis who are protesting outside the Indian consulates in Canada, US and UK also. And in fact, several raids have been conducted. FIRs has also been registered. One of the NIA teams has already been visited to the England when this entire protest happened outside the Indian High Commission office when these Khalistanis turned violent. But the point is that Indian agencies and Indian governments are very much concerned about the activities happening outside the Indian consulates in foreign soils. But those countries, those governments are still remain mum and they are not taking any kind of action. They are not protecting the Indian consulate office, Indian High Commission office, and even the Indian diplomats also. And this is the latest incident in Vancouver. Again, they have gathered outside the Vancouver Indian consulate office and raising the slogan, disrespecting the tricolor along with the flags of Canada as well as US along with the flags of Khalistan. A clear-cut indication that Canada is giving so much space to these Khalistanis that they are all running their agenda from Canada till Punjab till India. Yes, Nikita.
Amandeep, while our external Mr. S. Jaishankar has clearly said that the allegation that Justin Trudeau had very carelessly made against India in India's involvement in the killing of Nijjar when it could not even provide any evidence related to same. As you also just said, Amandeep, that though that statement by Trudeau has been extremely detrimental to the existing situation and that has also, emboldened these elements in organizing such events. But after Jaishankar's statement also, they are not providing the proof anything concrete, but the protests go on. So how responsible is Trudeau for this kind of a scenario which is happening time and again over there, despite having conversations with India? In fact, a big scene was created after G20 summit. What is Trudeau's exactly role in this whole situation?
Well, absolutely, Nikita. That is a big question. On one side, Trudeau has alleged that Indian government has plotted the murder of Khalistani Hardeep Singh Nijjar. But when Indian External Affairs Minister S. Jayashankar is asking him to provide the evidence, then again there is no evidence. If the Indian government has plotted the murder, there must be some evidence. If they are getting this information from any source or from any intel input, there must be some concrete evidence to prove this fact. But the Canadian government as well as Canadian Prime Minister, they remain mum on the statements recorded by these Khalistani supporters. They are alleging that the Indian government is involved in the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar in Surrey, in the Gurdwara of Surrey. And in fact, there is no evidence. Again, just because neither the Justin Trudeau is condemning these protests, nor he was providing any kind of concrete evidence. It was just that he has given the statements for these pro-Khalistani elements. And in fact, this all situation has been escalated. And Indian government has taken it very seriously and repeatedly asking to provide the concrete evidence so that at least action can be taken from the Indian side as well. But there is no such evidence. When India had not plotted any kind of murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, so how come they create the evidence? But this disrespecting of tricolor, these giving space to these Khalistani elements is a routine process of Canadian government and justice, because there is a, Nikita, huge vote bank of these Khalistanis. They are influencing the voters in Canada, and that is the reason to capture that vote bank. Justin Trudeau in favoring these kind of elements and giving proper space in the Canada, so at least they can encash the votes. Yes.
Right, Amandeep. Absolutely, Amandeep. You rightly said that it is Justin Trudeau who is ultimately giving the breeding ground to these elements in Canada. Otherwise, it's not possible for these protests to happen so regularly.